The Highest in the Room is proud to be sponsored and lit by the CWCB Expo. The show has helped build a legalized cannabis industry and is a leading forum for the entire supply chain, seed to sale. At their events, many mergers, acquisitions, and deals are signed because of the exposure they provide to participating companies, sponsors, and brands. The CWCB Expo continues to support and stand shoulder to shoulder with the brave, courageous, and committed who have helped shape the cannabis industry, evolving through many phases of stigma, volatility, and legalization. This is KymB reporting from the weed capital of the world, New York City. After almost 100 years of prohibition, the government has finally loosened the hold on cannabis as we enter a new industry of innovation, technology, and greed. There are some cannabis professionals who have pushed through the doors of opportunity. I talk to them unfiltered and uncut. We get the real story from the highest in the room. Today, we get to talk to my friend Renata about one of my favorite things in the whole world, money and revenue and all of that jazz there. Money is what makes the world go round. Commerce is what keeps everybody in business. So today's episode is really important. So, Renata, I'm going to hit it over to you. Tell us what your full name is, what your full business is, and where you are originally from and where you're at now.
Well, Kim, thank you very much for the invitation. Like, I'm following you for a very long time, and I love the podcast, and I think it's a great idea, really. And I really like that you have a lot of women also involved in the podcast. And so, thank you again for the invitation. I'm Renata Serban. I'm a certified public accountant, certified management accountant. I'm the founder and CEO of Highly Elevated CPA. I'm also the chair of the Cannabis Committee of New York State Society of CPAs as well. My firm specializes in accounting and advisory services for cannabis operators in New York and New Jersey. Um,
Where are you from?
Given that I'm originally from Kazakhstan, which is a country in Central Asia.
Oh my gosh,
Uh,
is that? Sorry, I know you're going to hate me for this.
no, that's
Borat.
right, right. So it's a lot of people actually associating the country with that movie. And then trust me, I don't hate you. Actually, like what I like to say is when that movie came out, the tourism in our country actually went very much up. And the government quickly realized that also not too many people know about my country, and now we are kind of getting known by this movie, which is, by the way, prohibited in a lot of post-Soviet Union space. Like it was never in the movie theaters or anything like that. But it definitely played a big role in the tourism. And I personally actually never seen the movie, honestly.
I haven't either. I haven't either, but I just know this. But I have seen some film of Kazakhstan, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Yes, the geography of the country is very beautiful. We have mountains, we have forests, we have a lot of oil and gas, and most importantly, like any countries that end in stan, like Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, they pretty much a homeland of the cannabis plant. So the best strains are really coming from that side of the world. I know some of the seeds being important from my country, like from Afghanistan, from Tajikistan, because it's one of the best strains. So I'm coming also from a very mixed family. My father is Kazakh, and Kazakh people are mostly Muslims, and my mom is Ukrainian. She's a Christian, but she's not really practicing. And my father is a coach in Greek Roman wrestling, and my mother is she works for the city office. So I really grew up in a very mixed family where one parent was really pushing for sports. That's why I have a brown belt in judo. And my mother was always pushing for education and the importance of getting into college and being the best in education. That's why I have a summa cum laude in all my high schools and my universities and everything. very, very diverse background that kind of like really put me on the success in everything I do.
That's amazing. And where are you zooming from now?
Right now, I'm zooming from my apartment in New Jersey. Like every time when somebody's asking me, like, where are you from? I'm like, okay, that's an interesting question because I really, 50% of my time I'm spending in New York. I've been living in Queens all my life. And after COVID, obviously, a lot of people's lives changed. After the divorce, I pretty much rented the apartment here, so in New Jersey, in Florham Park. So currently, I'm spending 50% of my time in New York. I have a lot of clients in New York, and 50% of my time in New Jersey because I have also a lot of clients here. So truly in between the two states.
So, really quick, I would love for you to tell us three things about yourself that we would not know unless we asked.
Well, as I mentioned, brown belt in judo. You probably wouldn't know now that unless you asked. Obviously, you just found out I'm from Kazakhstan. Like, not too many people know. Like, I'm very proud that I'm coming from this country, even though obviously, the movie didn't paint us in a, very glorious format. I actually also have a bachelor degree in chemical engineering. Where I'm coming from, Kazakhstan is one of the main forces of the economy is the oil and gas production, and that's why I pursued the degree in chemical engineering. And that's actually very helpful to me right now while I'm working with cannabis manufacturers and cultivators. The fundamental knowledge of chemical processes, and on top of it, accounting is actually very, very helpful. I also don't celebrate my birthday. That's another thing people don't know about me. Nobody knows where my birthday is. Even my kids for a very long time they didn't. It's just something. But that pretty much it in a nutshell.
Gotcha. All right. So, thank you for sharing. And um, I I think the cannabis industry is super hot and spicy right now. What do you think's hot in cannabis right now?
Um, I personally very much like the role of that, not the role, and that there are more and more women actually entering the space, and they are occupying the leadership position, and they very much focusing on education. So, in my opinion, this is like I just hope that it's just gonna go more and more women will be involved because ultimately breaking the stereotypes really, I think also the more women involved in cannabis, the less stereotypes we are having, especially working mothers. I know a lot of people are very judgmental when it comes to the consumption of cannabis, especially when it comes to women and working mothers, which is again, and I think it's great, and that a lot of women really educating other women, in addition to men, and the importance of cannabis for women health. Overall, the education on cannabis, how it affects you, and the right use, the right consumption. And every time when there is an event organized by women in support of education or some kind of advocacy, these are the events that I really go to. I absolutely love the Women Pavilion at the CWCBE. I think it's amazing. So many women sort of in one space. And that is usually the most beautiful um, sort of a space, I guess, at the entire conference. Like that entire pavilion is so beautiful. You can tell like women organize that, women set up all the booths, because usually there's the most beautiful booths as well, because it's just like women and aesthetic. And I really think that the more women participating in this industry and kind of like weeding out cannabis misconception. Actually, there was recently an article in NJ Biz actually speaking about weeding out misconception about cannabis, and women ultimately are the one who will be successful in that goal.
I agree with you on so many levels. And I've been advocating, I consider myself a woman's advocate in the cannabis space. And from my background in fitness, 25 years as a Pilates instructor, I've owned my own gyms and Pilates studios, worked for, the big boxes, Equinox, Lululemon. So I think, cannabis and CBD, all cannabinoids for longevity, is going to be, all the biohackers out there are using cannabis and CBD to kind of, alternate between, uh, Eastern and Western medicine. I think, I'm a big proponent of, both Eastern and Western medications and philosophies together rather than just one or the other. So, I think women have a huge role to play in cannabis and longevity. And it's really exciting to see the numbers of women in C suite and high management positions growing. I don't have to tell anybody that Tribe Tokes is, powered by plants and built by girls. My business partner and the CEO of Tribe Tokes, Dejali Pilla, we both have a philosophy that, who run the world? Fucking girls.
Girls.
That so um but I think that cannabis also has a lot of spice, giving me a little agita here and there. What burns you up in cannabis? What makes you wanna grab a hose and put the fire out?
That's an interesting one. Obviously, there's a lot of really, characters in the cannabis space. Whoever is entering this space, they all have different agenda. They have different background stories, right? There are a lot of cancer survivors. There is a lot of former veterans. There are a lot of doctors. Anybody have some kind of a story behind, right? That's why they're entering. And a lot of these people, they have this idea about the cannabis and how it's helping and stuff. And there are also other type of characters that are entering this industry. Obviously, we're not going to describe those, but the main thing really that drives me crazy is inexperience in running a business, right? There's a lot of inexperienced business owners that entering the space in hopes that they can run very profitable business because they're thinking it's a lot of money, but they have no idea how to run a business. In addition, the understanding the role of a qualified accountant is very lacking among a lot of cannabis operators. I mean, Kim, you should see how many times when I'm on the prospect call and somebody is already operational for 6 months are coming to me and they're asking like, can we hire you? I'm like, you've been in business already for 6 months. You're operating a cannabis facility. How are you managing to do all that without an accountant? Only now you're looking for an account, and then I start looking at the records are extremely messy. There is over collection or under collection of tax, over hiring people, over ordering products, being absolutely not compliant with the regulations of regulatory bodies, whether it's New York State or New Jersey. And that absolutely drive me crazy, and I usually try to stay away from business owners like that, unless of course they're recognizing that they lacking the experience and they want my help. But a lot of business owners really undervalue the role of an accountant, deeming it more of as a commodity, it's just a compliance, without understanding how much value the qualified accountant can bring with strategic advice, how to grow your company, really give you an insight into your own accounting records, making sure your accounting records are in order, making sure you audit ready, because you will be audited. It's not a matter of if, it's the matter of when you will be audited, either by federal government, by the state, and in some states also municipalities can come in. So it's really that lack of inexperience of how to run a business and undervalue of accountants. It's really kind of like drive me crazy.
No, I totally understand. And, I think having your finances in order is something that is good for the mind, body, and spirit. I have, owned businesses since I'm 18 and have had a slew of different accountants since then. And every time, a couple years ago, I had like an accountant just kind of disappear. And then I was having a friend help me and it wasn't working. And I finally just got, I have other businesses, not our Tribe Tokes business, but I have like a few other, real estate companies and things like that. And I thank God every day for my accountant for keeping me sane. Because if not, and those letters come in from the IRS, it's scary as shit. Back in 2004, I had a bank account levied because I did not file my sales tax correctly. And so this is real shit. And guess what? That is one thing I don't fuck around with. So, um, speaking of like, people not understanding the value of accountants, can you tell me like what challenges are accountants having with cannabis companies right now besides, people just not seeing the value in it?
Um, well, the cannabis industry again, it's very regulated. It's one of the most highly regulated industries in the country, right? And I guess the main aspect of being federal illegality and the state legality and the lack of the guidance and the framework for accountants to really work with. When a cannabis operator applies for the cannabis license, right, there is a set of regulations that are provided by the state, and they just need to comply with those regulations, right? When it comes to accounting and the guidance, it's really not there. I mean, the entire tax work of a certified public accountant when it comes to tax work of cannabis operators is really 77 words in the Internal Revenue Code, which we all know as 280E, and really key core tax cases. So that pretty much it. There are a few sort of memorandums posted on the IRS's website with respect to, different nuances handling cannabis operations, accounting, and tax, but not enough. So we really kind of have to operate in this our own space, assessing the risks, and a lot of accountants are very conservative when it comes to risks. That's why there are not that many accounting firms that are actually serving cannabis operators, because there's really no guidance, there's no framework, and a lot of accountants are kind of like trying to stay away from cannabis operations again because federal illegality, state legality, cash intensive transactions again, like cash when there's a lot of cash involved, is by default always a very high risk business. um, Challenges also in valuing the biomass, right? The inventory costing is very important, and the inventory costing also is very important for the fact that obviously because of 280 you can only deduct the cost of the goods sold, and if you are a producer, like what goes into that production of the biomass, that's a very complex accounting, and again there is no clear framework for an accountant to work with. Like I have a lot of people reaching out to me and they like, can you just recommend some kind of a book that I can read and just learn everything about cannabis accounting? I'm like, I wish it would be that easy. It's really come with experience. It really comes with working with cannabis operators, researching on your own, knowing all the federal key tax court cases when it comes to cannabis, knowing the regulations of the state. On top of that, of course, the actual shortage of accountants as it is. I'm not even talking about the challenges of dealing with the cannabis operations, but just finding the regular accountants. I mean, you can train anybody, but just the lack of the actual accountants is also a big challenge. Since a lot of people just don't know, a lot of cannabis operators and business owners just don't know the challenges that accountants are facing, and I always try to advocate and kind of like bring up the issues of us as an accountants that we are facing, whether it's just a regular business or a cannabis business. So yeah, there is a lot of stuff that some people just don't know that we have to deal with. And when you don't know, you don't know. Probably
Yeah.
that's what.
It's the wild world of weed. There's just, there's so much unknown, and it's just such an early industry, and we still have so many people in jail. It's like, how do we even call it an industry when people are still in jail and getting arrested for it? So it's wild. What do you think the general state of cannabis businesses are in now? Do you think, like, I just hear so many companies saying that they're losing money, they're not profitable, a lot of big MSOs, merging and acquiring each other, trying to fight to, gain uh, as much as they can to get into the black and out of the red. What's your thoughts there?
Um, well, besides being a certified public accountant, I'm also a certified management accountant. And the management accountants are the people that really, as a, as managers, right? They are able to see at the operations where are the inefficiencies of the operations. So a lot of cannabis companies, and again, let me talk about the small business operators, right? It's very vary. Like some of the businesses are very profitable from day one, some of them not much. And I noticed what's in common between being profitable and successful cannabis business as opposed to non-profitable, right? Like in kind of like being a loser. Is really the knowledge of the industry itself, the business acumen, and whether the business owners are really hands on deck, and whether the team is really hands on deck, because a lot of it coming from experience running the business, approaching it correctly as a business person, really knowing the regulations, because you're operating in a very strict environment. So a lot of it really coming from, again, like back to my original point, why some businesses are successful, why are not. It's really coming from knowing how to run the business, making sure you're hiring the right people, making sure you're compliant, making sure you are at the dispensary every day and making your best in like in running the business and then growing the business. So like, watching your expenses, watching who you're dealing with, and kind of like is it worth spending this much money like on this campaign? And like it's like really coming to that business acumen.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, Renata, tell me about the MORE Act.
Essentially what this is a piece of legislation that will decriminalize cannabis, not reschedule it, but completely removing it from the controlled substances schedules, right? It will decriminalize the cannabis. It will add two types of taxes, excise taxes, right? So there will be an additional excise tax on cannabis products. It will be focused on the expungement of cannabis records from previously arrested. um, so this act is a very comprehensive piece of legislation that is also very controversial, because it's a lot of politics involved. um, if this act is enacted, I think that would be very helpful for the industry, considering that it will completely decriminalize the cannabis. It will compensate also, for the taxes. Obviously, there will be taxes, excise taxes. It would be similar to the liquor industry, right? Additional excise tax. So I think it would be great, right? But of course, I'm being very optimistic. I know when politics are involved, the MORE Act is just too good to be true. This is if in case it will be enacted, it will be probably very much different from the way it was introduced. There are also other pieces of legislation currently sort of pending. There is a States Reforms Act, which also will remove cannabis from the Controlled Substances Act. It will give states the right, whether they want to prohibit or not, it will be up to them, but it will allow interstate commerce. Um, we all, of course, know that in the recent news, there was a lot of talks about descheduling or rescheduling the cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. So we'll see. So all this talks, right, about the cannabis. I think with the new presidential elections, no matter who's going to take the office, I think something will happen with the cannabis space. There will be some kind of a change, some kind of a reform. Obviously, you cannot make everybody happy, but it's just evident that it's just coming. It will come within the next few years, I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not really on board for rescheduling. However, I am on board with, all of the plant touching companies not having to pay 280E, which is really inhibiting a flow of investor money because people are like, I can't get my money back. It's all going to go to taxes. So I do see that change is coming, and I think we're overall in a good trajectory, and so it's definitely interesting. I definitely think expungement is an important piece of it. And as I was saying before, there's still a lot of people in jail and still people being arrested. Dana Beal, who founded the New York Cannabis Parade and Rally, New York City Cannabis Parade and Rally, reform for things like, getting him out of trouble and making sure that he doesn't do jail time is near and dear to my heart. So, Renata, this was such a great conversation. Thank you so much for all of your golden nuggets. You're
Thank you for
super,
having me.
you're super active on LinkedIn. Where can we find you there? Renata Serban, right?
Yes, LinkedIn is one of the very few social media platforms that sort of allows cannabis related content. Like I know some of the social medias are more against it. Like there are instances of accounts being froze and stuff like that. I really like LinkedIn. It's a professional network. You can find me as Renata Serban, CPA, CMA. There are really not that many Renata Serbans on LinkedIn. The company name Highly Elevated CPA, my company's website, highlyelevatedcpa.com. You can learn more about me, who I am, the type of services I provide, the recognitions that I received, some of the articles that I have written. It's really the best way to stay in touch with me.
Great. Are you taking on new clients for your accounting firm?
I'm the type of person where I like to provide quality services. So my practice is really focusing on quality rather than quantity. At the moment, I slow down on taking new clients, but hopefully within a few months, I will resume. My firm is growing, my team is growing, and I really like to have enough time for all of my clients. So when you're hiring me, like I'm there for you, I will help you, I will be with you every step of the way, and that's only is achievable when you have not too many clients, and not too few clients as well, when you have just the right amount of clients where you have enough time for them, because I have to be available for my clients. It's very important to me, the quality of service, and paying attention and everything, being the strategic advisor. And that's only possible when you do not have that many clients or if you have enough support. So within a couple of months I will resume getting
Amazing.
new engagements. Yes.
Amazing. Well, thank you again for your time. This is KymB and Renata, highest in the room, signing off.
Thank you.